You wake up with that quiet ache again, the one you never name out loud. It sits behind your ribs like a faint pulse, a reminder that something in you has been stretched thin by the weight of life. You keep moving through your days, doing what needs to be done, yet there is this subtle tremor inside you, a sense that a piece of your inner architecture has cracked. Not shattered, only cracked. And you wonder if the crack means you are failing, or if it means something else that you have not yet understood. You tell yourself to be strong. You tell yourself to keep going. Still, there are nights when the room feels too silent and your thoughts feel too loud. You look at your reflection, and you cannot decide if you are losing yourself or returning to a version of you that was buried under years of effort and expectation. There is a strange softness in your gaze, almost like the beginning of a thaw, as if the winter inside you has begun to melt, though you are not sure why. You feel the heaviness of old stories clinging to your skin, stories that whisper that you should be further ahead, stronger, clearer, more complete. You breathe in and try to quiet the noise, but the noise carries memories, shadows, fears. All the fragments you kept hidden because you believed they made you weak. Yet something in you is tired of hiding. Something in you wants to be seen. Not fixed. Seen. You stand at the edge of a new inner landscape, though you do not know its name. It feels like a forest at dusk, familiar and strange at the same time. The trees are tall, their silhouettes leaning toward you like quiet witnesses. There is a path somewhere among them, a path that calls you to step forward even though your legs tremble. You sense that the darkness ahead is not an enemy. It is an invitation. You are not broken, though the world may have convinced you otherwise. There is a deeper movement happening inside you, a rearranging of foundations, a soft burning at the core. You are rebuilding yourself, stone by stone, breath by breath. Something ancient in you knows this, something wise, and yet, beneath it all, something still calls your name. You walk through your days carrying pieces of yourself you barely recognize. Some feel heavy like wet earth. Others feel light like ashes. You try to arrange them into something coherent, yet they keep shifting in your hands. It leaves you wondering if your inner world is collapsing or if it is reorganizing itself in ways you cannot yet perceive. In the quiet moments, when the noise fades, you sense that the change is not chaos. It is a kind of hidden order rising from places you once feared to enter. You have been taught to fear your own depths. The shadows in you were labeled as flaws. The doubts were treated as cracks in your foundation. The sadness as weakness. The anger as danger. But when you sit still and listen, truly listen, you feel that these darkened rooms inside you are not ruins. They are chambers. They hold the memories you avoided, the longings you silenced, the courage you postponed. They are waiting for your presence, not your judgment. There is a river moving through your unconscious, slow and steady, carving a path toward the surface. You feel it in your chest sometimes, like a quiet current pulling you inward. It carries fragments of forgotten dreams, echoes of old wounds, flickers of strength you once abandoned. When you touch this river with your awareness, something shifts. The water does not drown you. It reveals you. It washes away the dust of years spent pretending to be smaller than you are. You walk deeper into this forest of inner symbols, guided by an intuition you cannot explain. A faint glow moves between the trees, soft as dawn. It flickers like a promise. You follow it because part of you knows that what you call suffering is often the beginning of a transformation. What you call brokenness is often the first sign that your old shell cannot contain your becoming. Pain is not an ending. Pain is the fire that softens the metal so it can be reshaped. Sometimes you catch glimpses of yourself in these metaphors. A mirror cracked by truth, yet still reflecting light. A door that leads inward, not away. A temple built slowly in the dark, brick by trembling brick. You begin to sense that everything you lost created space for what is arriving. Everything that hurt you carved room for new breath. Nothing in you is wasted. Nothing in you is meaningless. The forest is not closing in on you. It is opening. There is a dreamlike quality to your growth. You feel as if you are standing between night and dawn, held by both. The shadows no longer frighten you the way they once did. They feel like old companions, and the light does not blind you. It guides your steps gently. You begin to trust this balance, this quiet alchemy. You begin to understand that you are not breaking apart. You are being rearranged by forces that want you to stand taller, feel deeper, breathe freer. And somewhere in the midst of this unfolding, you finally realize that the journey ahead is not about repairing yourself. It is about remembering yourself. And yet, beneath it all, something still calls your name. There are moments when the weight inside your chest feels almost physical, as if your ribs are holding back a storm. You feel the pressure rise when you wake in the morning, before your thoughts even form into words. It is the quiet tension of a soul that has carried too much for too long. You sense it in your breath, in the way you hold your shoulders, in the way your mind circles the same memories again and again. It feels like you are standing in the middle of an abandoned house, listening to the creak of old floors, unsure which room is safe to enter. As you step inward, you begin to see that this heaviness is not a punishment. It is the residue of the battles you fought without witnesses, the emotional wounds you hid because you believed no one would understand, the expectations that were placed on you before you even knew how to speak. They linger in your unconscious like shadows stretching across the walls. Jung would say that these shadows are not enemies. They are parts of you waiting to be acknowledged, parts you pushed away so you could survive. The shadow stands before you like a mirror made of dusk. It holds reflections you tried to forget, anger you swallowed, tears you never allowed to fall, strength you abandoned because someone once told you it was dangerous. When you look into this mirror, you see the outline of a figure made of both light and night. The figure reaches toward you, not to harm you, to return what you left behind. It is the strange mercy of the psyche. It gives back what you once rejected, offering you a chance to become whole again. A spark begins to form within you, faint as the ember of a dying fire. It glows quietly in the dark chambers of your inner world. You sense that this ember has been burning all along, even when you felt lost. It holds the memory of your resilience, the memory of every time you stood up when life tried to flatten you. As you breathe, the ember grows warmer, lighting the air around it. You begin to realize that your inner fire was never extinguished. It was simply waiting for you to return. You stand in this dimly lit room, facing your own reflection, watching the ember shift into a small flame. Something in you softens. Something in you steadies. You are not standing in ruins. You are standing at the threshold of renewal. And yet, beneath it all, something still calls your name. There are days when you feel as if you are wandering through a dense night, unable to tell where the path begins or ends. The air around you feels thick, almost viscous, and every step echoes with an old fear that you are losing control. You move slowly, guided only by instinct, unsure whether you are approaching revelation or falling deeper into confusion. This uncertainty presses against your mind like a cold wind. It makes you question your worth, your direction, your strength. Yet as you walk deeper into this inner night, something subtle begins to shift. You notice how the darkness bends around your presence, not with hostility, but with recognition. It is as if the unconscious has been waiting for you to enter. The shadows feel less like barriers and more like guardians of forgotten truths. They whisper memories you once buried, longings you avoided, versions of yourself that you thought were gone. They do not accuse you. They invite you to listen. You sense the psyche moving beneath the surface, weaving symbols together in ways that feel almost dreamlike. Jung understood this undercurrent as a silent intelligence, a force that shapes you from within. It rises in images, a river glowing faintly under moonlight, a door slightly ajar in the middle of a vast field, a forest clearing illuminated by a single beam of dawn. These symbols are not illusions. They are the language of your becoming. They reveal what words cannot hold. You follow one of these symbols into a deeper space. A door you once feared to open now stands before you. Its surface is smooth, touched by time. You reach for it slowly. When your fingers meet the wood, you feel warmth. The kind that comes from something alive. When the door opens, you see a room bathed in a soft firelight. At the center, there is a pool of water that reflects you back with startling clarity. But the reflection is different. It looks whole. It looks unafraid. This reflection does not show the fractures you carry. It shows who you are beneath them. You lean closer, believing it must be a distortion, but the image remains steady. It is you without the walls you built. You without the apologies. You without the old weight that never belonged to you. The sight of this truth brings a tremor to your breath. A part of you longs to step into that reflection and finally remember yourself fully. You kneel by the water, feeling its warmth rising to your skin. Your reflection ripples gently, inviting you to release what no longer serves your becoming. A quiet acceptance blooms inside you, soft as the first light of dawn. You understand that the night you feared has carried you to this moment. You are not lost. You are being guided. And yet, beneath it all, something still calls your name. There are moments when everything inside you feels as if it is being pulled apart and reassembled at the same time. It is not a violent sensation, but a deep and steady pressure, like tectonic plates shifting beneath the surface of your life. You feel it when you breathe. You feel it when you sit in silence. You feel it when you try to explain your inner world, but the words fall short. This is the tender threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. It is uncomfortable because it is real. As you stand in this threshold, you sense a presence rising within you. Not a voice, not a command, but a quiet knowing that feels older than your fears. It is the part of you that Jung would call the self, the center that has been guiding your steps long before you realized you were walking a path at all. It moves through your unconscious like a hidden river, carving new channels, softening rigid walls, flooding the barren corners you abandoned years ago. You feel its touch in flashes of intuition that appear without warning. A symbol begins to form in your awareness, bright and steady. It is a flame standing upright in the middle of a darkened temple. The flame does not flicker. It does not struggle. It simply exists with an unwavering presence. You realize that this flame is not something outside you. It is the core of your being, the unbroken center that endured every storm. When you look at it long enough, you sense that the flame is not asking you to change. It is reminding you that you already are the change. You step closer to this inner temple, and the air grows warmer. The walls glow with the soft gold of firelight. Shadows dance gently around you, not as threats, but as companions. You understand now that your shadows are not signs of brokenness. They are the natural contours of a soul that has lived, suffered, loved, and learned. Every scar carries a story. Every crack lets the light through. The temple is not ruined. It is alive with the marks of your journey. You reach out toward the flame, not to touch it, but to feel its heat. The warmth flows into your hands, then into your chest, then into every corner of your being. You feel something open in you, like a door you thought was sealed forever. A calm spreads through your breath. A clarity settles behind your eyes. You begin to see that your life has not been a series of failures. It has been a series of initiations. Each one stripped away a layer of illusion so you could return to your essence. You take one final breath in this sacred room, letting the warmth gather deep within you. The flame remains steady, as if whispering that you were never as fragile as you feared. You are not collapsing. You are rebuilding. And yet, beneath it all, something still calls your name. You rise from the inner chambers carrying the warmth of the flame inside you. It moves with your breath, steady and calm, like a quiet river flowing toward dawn. You feel the night around you begin to soften. The forest that once seemed impenetrable opens with gentle pathways. The shadows no longer stand as walls. They move with you like old companions who finally understand your pace. Every step reveals a deeper truth. You are not walking away from your pain. You are walking through it. The ember you found earlier glows brighter now, shaped by the reflections you faced and the truths you reclaimed. It lights your ribs from the inside, turning the old heaviness into clarity. You feel the mirrors of your past align themselves, no longer distorting your worth, only revealing what you carried all along. There is a sense that your inner architecture is being rebuilt with intention, stone by stone, breath by breath, nothing forced, nothing rushed. The river of your unconscious flows into a wider space, forming something like a lake at the edge of morning. You stand before its still surface and see a version of yourself that feels both familiar and newly awakened. The figure in the water carries the fire of your resilience, the softness of your vulnerability, the honesty of your shadow, the promise of your becoming. This reflection does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be present. The night around you lifts. The first light touches the horizon with gentle gold. You breathe in and feel your entire inner world breathe with you. Everything you walked through brought you here. Everything you feared became part of your foundation. You are not broken. You are opening. You are rebuilding. And something within you finally whispers that you are ready to step into the quiet dawn of who you truly are. You stand at the edge of this new morning with a softer heart and clearer breath. The world has not changed, yet something in you feels different. The weight that once pressed against your ribs has loosened. The silence around you no longer feels threatening. You sense life meeting you with openness, as if the forest, the river, and the inner flame have followed you outward. You feel accompanied by your own depth in a way you once believed was impossible. As you walk forward, you notice how your steps land differently. Not heavier, not lighter, simply truer. You are no longer running from the shadows that shaped you. You are no longer fighting the parts of yourself that once frightened you. You carry them with calm hands now, knowing they were never signs of weakness. They were passages. They were doorways. They were teachers in the dark. Each breath you take reminds you that healing is not a sudden sunrise. It is an unfolding dawn. You know the days ahead will still bring challenges. Moments of doubt, moments of old stories rising again. But you also know something you did not know before. You can meet these moments with awareness. You can meet them with patience. You can meet them with that quiet flame inside your chest that refuses to go out. Let the next few days be a gentle observation. Watch your thoughts without fear. Notice how your body responds to life. Let your inner river guide you rather than overwhelm you. You are walking into a new chapter of your becoming. Not by force, by presence, by breath, by the slow rebuilding that arises when you trust your own depth. What once felt like brokenness was only the sound of your old life making room for the new. You are standing in that new space now. And if you listen closely, you might hear it. The soft whisper of peace settling in your heart.